All right, welcome.
All right, good.
Glad to be sitting down here with some great minds. Welcome to the Let Your Words Count podcast.
Oh yeah,
episode number
63.
63. Moving right along. We're going to get into what today's word is first in just a moment. You can see it on the bottom of your screen. But first, we're going to just do a brief kind of introduction, see how everybody's day is going, see how everybody's weekends went. So let's start with our most special guest, Tamara. How was your weekend? How you doing?
Pretty good.
You doing well today?
I'm grateful.
Anything? What did y'all do for Valentine's Day?
Oh, we went to an Asian restaurant. It was my choice. He let me choose, and that was pretty cool. And,
That's what's up.
And then, since we've been married a little while, we just went shopping by ourselves.
My gift to you is time away from me getting on your nerves. I love it.
It was funny, man. It was funny because she just brought out the Menards card gift thing out of her purse.
It was our rebate card because
those
rebates add up.
They do.
Really nice.
They do. What you get? You still get 11% or something like that?
Yep, 11% on everything.
Love it.
She was like, "Guess what I got?"
Time to go shopping. You go that way, I'll go this way. We'll be back in an hour. That's what's up. What about you, bro? How's your day going?
Man, it was great, man. I you know what? My Mondays are wonderful because I know we're able to do this. Like this has really been a blessing. This show has really been a blessing to me, man. Like really engaging with you guys, talking to my wife throughout the day, just getting my mind prepared for the show and different things like that. Not only that, but asking a question. Hey guys, you got a word today, and you guys can come back and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, dude. It's nothing more free and liberating to know that people are curious about these words, man. That's my day, man.
I love it, man. That's one of the things I look forward to get my week started. I really like what I do for work, so I'm anxious to get I'm excited to get to work and get my day started. But then I always got in the back of my mind like I get to come by here, and we can have a really good conversation. I get to hang out with y'all for a couple hours, and it's always a good time.
It's always a good time.
Yep. All right. Dr. James.
Like I got something to say.
Yeah. How was your weekend? How you doing? How's life going?
Weekend was good. Things are getting back to normal. Okay. I told you guys my mom, she had surgery. It went well. God really blessed.
I'm glad to hear that.
And you can see that she's getting back to herself again.
Okay.
And so that's definitely
great.
A good thing.
That's amazing. That's the best news out of all of them.
And unlike you, work is no longer exciting for me. I still do a good job.
Okay.
I will not let down. There's certain standards, an honest day's work, an honest day's pay,
Okay.
that type of thing. But, I'm thinking about it's coming up where I'm not going to be working anymore.
All right. You going fishing soon, huh?
I'm not a fisher, but
okay.
but yes, the analogy works,
Okay.
so yes.
Okay. Yes. I love it. What about Valentine's Day? Anything special?
No, mainly, okay. This may sound bad, but we've been married 41 years, so
okay.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
So yes for that.
yeah.
But of course, she doesn't really get into chocolate. She doesn't get into flowers, so I can save a lot of money.
I was about to say you got the easiest. That is funny.
But we do spend time together, though.
Okay, that's good.
We spend some time together.
That's good. But there's got to be something that she's into, even if it's not flowers and chocolate.
She's a singer.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
So it's not that we can't share that, but when she's of that mindset, she talks to our daughter, who's also a singer.
Okay.
And then other people in her realm of singing. But that's what she's really excited about.
Okay. Nice. So you get to listen though and enjoy.
I get to listen.
Okay. After 41 years, are you still listening with butterflies? Or are you like, all right, baby?
Well, I'll tell you this. She can make a grown man cry when she sings. Yes.
Yeah. That is quite a compliment.
Yes. So.
Okay.
She hasn't lost a step. So.
Nice.
Yeah,
So, Mike, are we allowed to ask about you? What did you do anything special, or that you're willing to share? You don't have.
I didn't do anything special this Valentine's Day. I did laundry, I did chores, and I ran errands. Kind of around around the neighborhood and things like that.
So you took care of yourself, which is important for the future.
Yeah. This was a self-love Valentine for
That's
the
okay.
most part.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. So.
It's all right.
All right. Okay. So now that we've chatted for a little while, thank you to anybody that's on. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll remind you again at the end. Today's word is dogma. Dogma is our word. I'm really excited about this one. This is a recommendation by Brother James. So what we're going to do, without further ado, we're going to get into the definition. We're going to get into the history and usage of the word, and then we're going to talk about kind of the emotional responses that can come up from the word itself. So you want to get started with that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I know that G sent a parable. He wanted to kind of, with the start of the program, he wanted to start off like with a new type of avenue of starting off with a parable to try to give us get the people in the mindset of what it looks like, the word that we're talking about, right?
Okay.
And so I'll go ahead and read that right now, right?
All right.
So here's the parable. A traveler arrives in a village where everyone walks the same path around a mountain. When the traveler asks why, the villagers say, "This is the way our elders taught us." The traveler notices that a fallen tree now blocks the path, causing people to climb dangerously over it each day. When the traveler suggests walking around the other side, the villagers refuse. This is the path. The path once served them well, but clinging to it without question now puts them in harm's way.
Yep. I love that. Okay, so I actually have another parable.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're okay with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So this kind of reminds me of this one. It's not quite a group thing like this one, where it's just this is the path, this is the way. But I read this today. Actually, it's an analogy about dragging a boat. Okay. So a man, also a traveler, a man is walking to some faraway destination.
Okay.
And he's going through like wilderness and wild land. And he comes across a big river, a river that is too big to swim, and there's no way across.
Okay.
So he stands and thinks for a moment, and he realizes that his only option is to get across with a boat. But obviously he doesn't have a boat. He's been walking. So what he does is he resolves within himself to build a boat. So he goes to the edge of the forest, he chops down a tree, and he gets to work. It takes him several days of hard labor, but he finally gets a boat constructed, and it's sound. He uses the boat to get across the river, and then once he's on the other side, he thinks to himself, what if I come to another river? He has a long journey. What if I come to another river? It would be really nice to have this boat. And so what he does is he ties the boat like with some rope, and he ties it like across his body, and he drags it. And he walks and he walks and he walks, and he's dragging this boat, and it's heavy, and it's taking him 10 times as long to get from, let's say in one day, he's only able to travel, let's say, 1/10 of what he would have been able to travel if he were unencumbered. And after a while, it starts to break him down because he's dragging this thing along, and food is limited when you're in the wilderness and things like that. Ultimately, he realizes that it makes sense to let the boat go and move on. And if he has to come to another river, he can obviously build another boat. But the moral is, there are things that serve us in certain seasons in life. And we have to be aware enough to remember that sometimes we have to let those things go because they don't serve us anymore. Sometimes life dictates a different way of doing things. So the things that were a survival mechanism at one point in life are now a crutch, or maybe even a burden in this instance at another point in life. And so the parable that you just brought up made me think of that one.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Did anybody have a thought with that one?
What comes to mind when you say that is in 1 Corinthians 13, where it says, when I was a child, thought like a child. So there's a maturation that, is that the right word? Maturation? That he came to on his journey when he started. He was learning as he was going, even though he was heavy.
Yeah.
But he came to the realization, is that a revelation, I guess?
Yeah.
That I could do this a better way.
There's a better way. Not that it would have necessarily killed him, but like there are things that we can do that makes the journey take longer or be more painful or induce more suffering or whatever than is necessary. And if we, constantly evaluate and analyze where we are and what we're doing, then we can kind of start to shed some of those things or build another boat, whatever it looks like.
Yeah, the shedding.
Build some roller skates. Get there really quick.
Right. The shedding, what came to my mind, and I've used this one before as well. We remember the space shuttle program, right?
Yes.
Where, you have looks like an airplane or they're just huge solid rocket boosters. And so you need those boosters in order to get it off of the ground, right?
Yes.
But then at some point they have to be let go.
Because now it's dead weight.
Now it's dead weight,
That's
and
exactly
it can't
right.
get you into space.
That's very good.
Yeah.
That's a
Very
perfect
good.
analogy.
Very good.
Right. Okay, so our word is dogma. Sorry, I didn't mean to take us out of there.
No, you're good. No, that's excellent.
Okay, so yeah, we had that awesome parable about the people walking around the mountain who were unable to change from the dogmatic thing that they've done before. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get into the definition, we're going to get into the history, and then we're going to talk about the emotional. We're going to look at the emotional lens.
My favorite.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. You want me to do definition or you?
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So dogma is a principle, belief, or doctrine that is laid down as unquestionably true by an authority, often without room for debate. So I think it's interesting that the word doctrine is in there because
I do too.
They relate very, very closely. So I'm sure we're going to get into that in the conversation. Yeah. Okay, next thing is going to be the etymology or the history of the word. From the Greek dogma, meaning that which seems good or is believed. From doken, meaning to seem or to think. This word was originally neutral. It referred simply to an opinion or a decree. Over time, it evolved to imply unquestioned doctrine.
That's phenomenal.
There's that doctrine again.
That's phenomenal. All right.
All right, E.
There we go. Yeah, so the emotional lens, the feeling of the positive and the negative side of the word. The positive is stability, clarity, shared identity, and tradition. So the positive is stability, clarity, shared identity, and tradition. The negative side is rigidity, suppression of questioning, and control. So the negative side is rigidity, suppression of questioning, and control. Why? Why is the purpose of this? Right? So dogma provides certainty, but certainty can either comfort or confine. Okay. That's powerful. All right, y'all.
I bet Gary will have a field day with this one.
He would.
This is right up his alley.
No doubt.
So, Bro James, I know that you started off with this. Did you want to get started? I know this was your word.
Sure. It wasn't that this word was on my mind, when we talked about it earlier today, but I've been thinking about how, individuals versus groups operate, okay? Because we've spoken before about what I call group think, okay? And with group think, you lessen the opportunity for change to take place. Because this is just like a big, ocean liner. It can't spin on a dime, so to speak. And so the word religion and doctrine has been on my mind for quite some time. But then this just sort of popped into my head, dogma, because it goes to freedom or the lack of. Okay. especially with respect to thoughts. With that being said, in reading the definition, one of the things that amazes me, and of course this is why I believe what we're doing here on this podcast is so important, is speaking about words. Words change depending on who's using them and the context. Now we all know slang, for example. So cool doesn't mean temperature, for example, and you can go through a whole list of other words that are the same. When you look at the word dogma in its original usage, as you read, it doesn't have the same understanding and weight as what we know it to be today. Because when we talk about the word dogma today, we're talking about 9 times out of 10, we're talking about religion. But then if it's not religion, it's probably a political belief as well, right?
Yep.
And those are the two. And it tends to be very negative if you're outside of that, and then restrictive if you're inside of it, from the standpoint of, if you're going to be with us, this is what you have to believe. No question. This is it. Okay? But like I said, when you read, and I think it was the Greek, it really had to do with, it seems good. In other words, I've thought about this, and because I've thought about this, or it could be a group, we've thought about it, it seemed good to us that this makes sense, whatever it is. And so when I was thinking about it, I realized that there's actually a couple of passages in the scriptures that talk about that. And of course, I'm not going to go there, but one of them in particular is in Acts chapter 15. This is where after the church was just born, so to speak, and just started, if you will. And then after Peter went to the house of Cornelius, and then the Gentiles were saved. And so then now there's a big deal because the Jews thought salvation was theirs and theirs only, right? So then now he had the Gentiles. And so then they had a conference, if you will, where they really talked about this. And then after, different ones spoke, then James, who seemed to be the leader, he gave his quote-unquote decree. But he used the terms, it seemed good to us. In other words, after they talked about it, it seemed good to them. And of course, their recommendation to the Gentiles was not to eat, meat that was strangled with blood, and avoid fornication, some other things as well. But the point I'm getting at is they said it seemed good. Okay? And so then I started thinking about other instances in the scripture where the same thing applied. Paul, for example, when he was giving counseling concerning marriage. Now, he didn't use the term, it seems good, but he essentially said, I say this by permission and not by commandment. And then what he said was, for the unmarried, I suggest you do such and such a thing. It seemed good to him. Okay? Now, if we take those words and apply it the way people use it today, what seemed good to Paul as I being an apostle, and I being one that has not only the indwelling spirit, but the knowledge of the law and so on and so forth, it seems good to me that absent of words written in the law of Moses, for example, it seems good and consistent with the spirit that I give this advice, even though you can't find it written anywhere. Right. It seems good. What we do, or what man does today, we take it and we make it dogma, if you will. We make it hard and fast. And so what Paul was saying is something that seems like a good idea. We tend to take it and say, well, because it's in the Bible, and the Bible is the Bible, it's absolute, and it's unquestioned. And that's the way we go about it.
Very
and so,
good. Very
that
good.
was a fantastically well put point.
Yes.
I love that. I have one thing that I'd like to challenge and kind of see what your thoughts are.
Sure.
So you mentioned that earlier in your statement, you said that usually it comes from a place of, quote unquote, we thought about this and it seems like this is the right thing, right? My challenge would be that I think that once something has, let's say, graduated from doctrine to dogma, as we understand the meaning of those terms today.
Okay.
I would say that there are just as many people, maybe even more, that have not thought about it, that have accepted it because this is what I've been given, and now it's dogma. As similar to the parable. So like they said, and even in your example, this is what our elders taught us. I've never even thought about questioning it because dogma is not questionable. There's no way that I can add like the thought that you just brought out. The point that you just brought out speaks to the point that I'm trying to make, I think, because you just said that at one point when some message or instruction was suggested, or some leader was being thoughtful and say, hey, this is kind of what I was thinking. I think, take a look at this and tell me what you think. I think this makes sense. You know what I mean?
Right.
If a leader offers that to you, that's exactly what it is. It's a recommendation based on, like you said, his level of authority, his understanding, and things like that. Over however many generations it's been since then, since that was put in writing, it's transformed from the people who first received it and said, oh, well, Paul thinks this. This is pretty good. Let's do this. Now this is what our instructions have been. It's absolute. And it's been that way not only for this generation, but for my father's generation and my father's fathers and his fathers and so on. And so now it's the type of thing where it's passed down as absolute and nobody thinks about it. It's just, it is what it is. This is what we do because this is what they did. And this is, you know what I mean? And so I think I think this is why it feels, why I feel an aversion to the idea of dogma.
You should.
I believe I should. Yeah. It seems good to me to have an aversion to it.
Perfect.
But anyway, simply because it necessitates that we don't really think about it. You don't think about it. You don't question it. You just go along to get along because that's what everybody else is doing.
And that's the main problem that I see with it.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to jump in? Because I can keep going.
Right.
Keep going.
You done found a word for him today.
Yeah.
Say on.
Okay, because with this, behind it is authority. Okay? Where people tend to be willing to yield to authority. Okay? And if it's made easy, because I don't have to think about it. Okay? I don't have to think about it. Someone who knows more than me has said that this is the best way for us to go as a group, as a community, whatever. Therefore, it gives me, to your point about positives and negatives when you read them earlier, it gives me a level of stability, it gives me a level of comfort, and I don't have to think about this. Because it's written in stone, so to speak, I don't have to think about it.
Right.
I can allow my mind to deal with other things. And so now all I have to deal with is conformity. Okay? What we don't realize is when we do that, we are actually preventing what we are actually responsible for doing.
I agree with that.
Which is thinking for ourselves. Because if you think for yourself and another person thinks for themselves and they all come together and they discuss the issue, now you have counsel. And hopefully it's what we call wise counsel. So you may have differing viewpoints, but it may not necessarily be opposing viewpoints. They may be differing. Now, if everyone has the same spirit where we want to do this for the good, then the differing viewpoints come together.
Very good.
And then now you have, and so then you now may come as a group to, this is what we think is best. But always with the understanding that it's not promulgated from up high, you know. And it's not just because so-and-so said something, well, he's the boss, so therefore I shouldn't even think about it anymore. She's the boss, I shouldn't think about it anymore. That's where we make a left turn and then we're starting missing the boat. Because what happens is, once you all coalesce on one understanding and put it in stone, then now you no longer have growth.
100%.
You totally no longer have growth.
100%.
And
it's impossible to have growth.
Impossible. And then you have people who don't feel like they are supposed to think to make things better. So conformity becomes more important than thinking.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
You said a mouthful.
So you got me thinking about a couple of things here. So, what comes first, doctrine or dogma? Because it seems like you have a doctrine, but then the dogma, you have a doctrine, right? But there are some nuances that's probably unclear in the doctrine, right? And so the dogma comes where it seems that this doctrine is saying this, right?
Yeah, I look at it as
back in
I look at it as, in a way, dogma is doctrine on steroids, so to speak. In that, because see, with doctrine, you get the information, you get the knowledge, and then you come to an understanding that we think this is what's important, this is what's significant, this is who we are, this is what we believe. But then my understanding of dogma, the way we apply it nowadays, is, okay, now it's set in stone. Okay, so the thing that our people came to believe, whatever group our people is, 150 years ago, that's what it is. And so then now it goes from identifying yourself by we believe this, this, and that, to graduating in a negative way to you better believe it, or otherwise you're no longer part of our group now.
So
Okay, so this is who we are, this is what we believe, and then if you're going to be with us, you better swallow it whole. No questions asked.
So I got a question for you. This is because this is the question I wanted to ask. Was when does that dogma action begin to fail? When can a person actually identify when that set of beliefs or that doctrine or that dogma that, like you said, that on steroids begin to fail in some way?
I believe it fails, and you can see it when it's no longer about the reason why you came to that understanding concerning the doctrine, for example. And now it's all more so about adherence and obedience. Okay? So then you're not thinking about the particulars as to why you came to believe A, B, and C is right. You've left that, and now it's about
following just
yes.
the routine, the rule,
Yes. So then what happens is no one is talking about how you got to believing what you believe. No one is talking about how you got to the doctrine.
Very good.
Everyone is just talking about this is it, hold the line.
So this is good. The reason why, and this is not, I want to make this as a disclaimer, and this is not to hurt any religion or anything like that. It's just an observation, right? So I saw a group of Amish people, and I saw them. They can't use equipment. They can't use things that are equipment, motorized, or technology based, right?
to a certain degree.
To a certain degree.
They choose not to.
They choose not to.
No passing judgment. They just choose not to.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, and that's the point right there. And that's kind of like what I wanted to talk about, because I actually saw an Amish guy. He had, I don't mean to laugh, man.
It's all right. They not watching it. They ain't. I love it. Yes. Yeah, on YouTube. I love it. I promise you they won't be offended.
Yeah, that's great. Oh my goodness. So man, I just oh man. So if that's the case, no,
right.
but I think I saw one of the brothers, right? The Amish, they had ropes tied to the levers of a high-low. And he was driving the high-low.
Wow.
Using the ropes like reins from a horse. And he was actually operating it excellently. You know what I'm saying? Like beautifully. But I was thinking to myself, like, okay, so there's these bypasses that happen. What happens in dogmas, that there becomes these shortcuts or bypasses and loopholes and different things that people end up creating. I mean, at our job, we call them pokey-yokes, right? We bypass pokey-yokes all the time in the plant, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? The different things like that. So what do you guys...
said that on camera.
Mr. Merriweather, we need to see you in the
We got
office.
Right. They gonna come up behind
He
you
hasn't
tomorrow. Like, go ahead and
identified.
clock out for me, brother.
You're done.
Right.
Yeah. So do you guys understand that example? Like, it's the loopholes and the bypasses that we end up doing, and what happens is, what does that do to the psyche of an individual, to the someone's what's the word I'm looking for? Do they feel like that they're violating something in the process of that? You understand what I'm saying?
Well, you know,
Right.
it makes me think of that old terminology where someone built a better mousetrap, right? So if someone laid a process out and says this is the optimal process and the most efficient way, and then now it also depends on the motivation. Sometimes the mindset should be, I don't want to conform. Let me figure out another way because I don't want to do as the man told me to do. You
Yeah.
know? But it could honestly be someone looking at it and say, okay, I see what they did, but just like with inventors, could be a better way to do it. And so then what I hear you saying, hopefully it's not we're just going to try to be obstinate and hopefully it's not we're going to be obstinate and just do it another way just because. And it's because we see through your experiences, through your vast experience, however long you've been there, you see that maybe there's a different way to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And even in that case, if you found a different way, and if you took it back to the individual, to your point, what should they feel? Should they feel upset? Should they feel challenged? They really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Because now, to me, this is where counsel comes in at. So the person that came up with the original blueprint to say we should do it this way, they should take what you came up with and evaluate it. And then maybe they'll see, okay, maybe that's good, but what you didn't see, and maybe you weren't qualified to see it, is in doing that, this happened. So then maybe I can incorporate what you
100%.
just did and then make this tweak here, and then now we've made the whole thing better.
Very good.
Because if the goal should be continuous improvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not, this is it, no changes.
I agree. Totally agree. Good.
So I hear pride is a big part of Dogma.
Come on now.
Okay, that's all. I was thinking.
No, you got more to say.
Oh,
No,
no.
I'm just
Oh, well,
playing.
okay. No.
That was great.
I have an example.
Sure.
Parenthood, right? With our
That's
kids.
awesome.
When you grow up and then you have your own, and then you are more merciful to your parents at times. And I could talk about this to my mom. Like, I couldn't stand hearing because I said so. But we didn't have that kind of relationship at that time for me to ask, well, what do you mean what I said so? Because I said so. Now with my children, I've learned I didn't like that, so I'm not going to use that. And if I say something like that, one of the children, which I understand as an adult, it's important to come to leaders, elders especially, in a place of humility. Because we should have an open dialogue with our children. I want them to. So recognizing now that I'm the adult in the room, sometimes I'm like, okay, when my child is like, but what do you mean because I said so? If they ask, in humility, then I should address it so we could have that open dialogue. Versus when I was younger, I don't want to come at them like because I said so, because that's dogmatic. And really, my pride is in the way if I'm, especially if I have no reason, and it's just because I'm the mom.
Right.
Because I said so.
Knee-jerk reaction, right?
I think that's a really good point you made, and then I want to add just one other element to it, like the humility there. Obviously, I'm assuming you mean is like with tone and
Yes.
right.
And curiosity.
Yes, exactly. What the beautiful thing though is that enabling them to have that dialogue. Yes, they start off with that humility because you're their mom, but it builds confidence for later on because now I'm used to being able to ask questions of authority figures,
Yes.
which is incredibly important. That helps to avoid the dogmatic mindset from the
And
jump.
conformity.
Exactly.
That's really good.
Yeah. It was one other thing. Let me see. Oh, so I'm trying to remember the point. It was several points back, but it was something that you mentioned a moment ago about differing viewpoints versus opposing viewpoints. I think that
slipped
It
your mind.
escaped me. Yeah, I lost my point. Yeah, sorry guys.
So no, that's all right. So this one thought that I had also,
Yeah.
and it might tie back into, I don't know.
yeah,
but,
we might be able to come back around
But
to it.
I was just also thinking about the conformity is a form of laziness as well. Like if you think about, you know, I've been doing this for so long. This has just been our tradition and different things like that. How much of an impact does laziness end up becoming built in to a person's psyche when it comes to a dogmatic type of behavior? You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Laziness could be part of it. Also, in the workplace, a disgruntled employee, that could be part of it as well. You know, using the same example you use as far as, what's the term that you use to get around?
Bypass and
Pokey
pokey-okes.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
bypass.
Yeah.
On the air.
Someone could see that there may be a better way, but then because they have a problem with authority, they're not going to offer up the better way.
Yeah.
Okay? And so we're going to let you struggle. I see a better way, but I'm not going to say anything. You know, and it's not too different from a work slowdown where you have work rules, and then when people want to prove a point, they're going to just work just by the rules, and they're not going to do anything more. And then what invariably happens is there's going to be a slowdown because the employees may have been doing more than what the company thought the norm would be for that employee per day, per hour, whatever the case may be. But because now I have an issue, I'm not one in mindset with the company. So instead of all of us advancing as one, and we're going to try to do things better, I'm going to just slow down. You tell me what to do, I'm going to do it. If you don't tell me to do anything, I'm not going to do anything. Now, is that tied to dogma? Well, only to me, possibly if the company is so authoritarian. I know I'm speaking company-wise, but it could be in many settings where they're showing that they are not open to, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a challenge. And Tamara, I think that's to your point. Like when our children deal with us that way, are they challenging our authority when they ask why? Then our response will be one way. But if we see that it's not a challenge to our authority, it's a sincere desire to understand, then we deal with them differently.
Yes.
And so if we were so dogmatic as parents to say, I'm mom, I'm dad, therefore unquestioned, we're creating problems.
Yes, we're
And we're
creating
also
a dog.
showing insecurity possibly
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And we're teaching one last thing, so then we're teaching, in this case, our children not to think for themselves, but to value or fear punishment and retribution.
And also to be susceptible to a dogmatic mindset. Because if we're trained and programmed from youth to submit to authority without question, which is extremely dangerous, and I feel like probably we all had a little bit of that in our household, at least, I'm sure. I know I did. And so but it takes a lot more work to build confidence once you get grown, because then you are, like you said, concerned more about retribution and punishment than I am about being liberated, individual, things like that.
We're being part of a group that is trying to grow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
yes.
so then now we bring our experience with the church involved, with that. And then we start to see right away, or question at least, are we with a group that's looking to grow, or are we with a group that is determined to hold to the quote unquote the old landmark?
Yeah, we go around the mountain because this is the way our father.
Because this is the way.
Yeah.
And we're going to be benefited because we're holding to the way that worked way back when.
Yes, yes, without regard for the fact that humans are still we're evolving as a species. Like we're just moving forward through time, and methods, tactics, behaviors that kept us alive and safe and well and growing 2,000 years ago are not necessarily the same in current time. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
In our current standing.
That was very interesting.
Yeah, so keeping that in mind, I mean, Dogma is like you said, I really appreciated the fact that you mentioned the lack of growth that comes from a dogmatic mindset, because now you're set in stone. You literally use that phrase, actually, written in stone. Now you're set in stone. Stone doesn't grow. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
Only living things are able to grow, and the defining feature of something that is alive is something that is changing. There's always change happening as long as we're growing. And so Dogma cuts change off at the root.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Is it possible we can reinstitutionalize Dogma back to its previous original form? You know, lexicon. Because when we said it, it said it seems, or I think. It's an opinion. Is there any way that it can be reset in some type of way? Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
In some settings, it is that way. There's another podcast that I watch. You heard me talk about it a lot. Dad Saves America, John Papola, and he talks about how debate has changed over the course of years, and he highlights different schools, and the debate is now very dogmatic, where you have anger at the mic, and it's just spewed out without, where back in the day, like you said, Dogma was presented in a calm, let's discuss this. That's what it was called. I think mostly like overseas. I don't know about here, but I'm sure because people came from overseas to here.
Right. No, that's pretty good. Yeah, because and that's a good point, Tamara, because like things have, just like language evolves, right? Even a word like that can be manipulated, right, to mean something different. So now that you hear it, it has this badge, that this connotation or this badge of negativity that's along with it. You know, one thing that I do want to bring up as well.
Well, real quick before you switch,
go ahead.
before you
go ahead.
change over.
No, you're fine.
For me, I think redefining it, or even reverting back to its original definition and intended use and meaning, and this is just my personal opinion, I think it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the word has evolved along with the rest of language to mean what it means today. I think what's more important to maybe consider is that we strive to understand the impact of a dogmatic mindset and a dogmatic belief system, and look to change the behaviors rather than redefining the word. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is,
I think that's what you.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was saying. What it's for one thing, you're spot on what you said. Okay, so I like your opinion. I think that we as humans, we do a terrible job at manipulating things. You know what I'm saying? Like changing words, changing the context or whatever, and it ends up evolving to be a monster instead of something else that people can be benefited by. Okay. We've done that across the board, right? So many words that we use. And this is, once again, like what James was saying, this what this podcast is for, is really, or this channel is truly for, is to look at these words. What do they do for you? What are you becoming with what you believe? So when you have dogma, what are you becoming when you understand this word? How other people view this word, how other people are responding to this word and to the action of it. It's not only a word, but it's an action. It's a breathing life force. Because when you talk about dogma, you're talking about a military, government, religion, all of those types of classes, so to speak. I know that's probably a lack of a word term, but it's departmentalized in some type of way and compartmentalized for authoritative control. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, what do you do? What do you do with this? You know, a captain would tell a soldier, because they have this dogma about listening to a captain. I don't care who's over that hill. You go over that hill and you take it. You see what I'm saying? And you thinking about your life, but he's thinking about following orders. You know what I'm saying? Or in response, he's like, you know, I'm thinking about my life, but I sworn in, and now I have to obey, right, and follow these orders. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Like, when does wisdom come in with the dogma? When does, you know what I'm saying? When does pride get out the door so we can think individually, right? Because okay, let me take a step back because I think I'm moving too fast. I think the individual is the smallest minority, okay? And I believe that our understanding of these words as an individual is very impactful, okay? I should be able to give you a word and invite you into what I'm thinking instead of forcing anything. You see what I'm saying? Dogma right now, today, is forceful, and it's not an invitation. When you're saying that something is non-negotiable, that's huge for me, man. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm done. No, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, well, as you were saying, you mentioned the word individual, and we know that everything goes down to the cellular level, if I'm saying it the right way.
Now it's down to the quantum
The
level.
quantum level. Okay, thank you for that. But it's the sum of the parts, if you will. Okay, so what I'm getting at is, to your point, because one of the things I was thinking is when dogma becomes a monster, as we're talking about it now, rebellion does not have to be the natural outcome. Unfortunately, many times it is the natural outcome, but it doesn't have to be. Okay? If we're wise, if we're mature, then we recognize what we recognize in someone that's dogmatic in their views. But now I believe you should look to not be in opposition to them to show your disapproval of the way they handle it, but to show them how maybe what they have is a good foundation.
Yes.
But then maybe it can be, you may not want to use the word improved upon, but you can show, because it goes to growth.
Made sturdier.
Make sturdier, thank you. So as opposed to, like I said, rebellion, which goes to emotion, goes to a mindset that's looking to, well, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in this thing because they shouldn't be doing it that way. If you're truly committed to growth, then, and see, now this where comes long suffering on your part and being able to take things because their mindset hasn't come around to seeing the limitation of having a dogmatic mindset, but seeing the possibilities of someone who can see, take it, and then we can go together forward, which means now we are a group trying to advance as opposed to a group that's decided this is where we are and we're not going to go forward, and this becomes our identity. So it doesn't have to be rebellion when we see someone or a group that's being dogmatic, but if the foundation is good, if the idea is good, you don't throw out the proverbial baby with the bathwater. You figure out how to deal with them in such a way to go forward and to grow. Because without growth, like you said, what do we have?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I have a question. To what degree, and this is just me offering a challenge, to what degree is an individual thinker responsible for to use your phrase, coming around of a dogmatic mindset?
I think the responsibility is on the individual only to the point where if it's given to them, if you have audience, if you have the ability to influence someone's opinion, do so. Because your mindset is to help, not to tear down. So if you have the opportunity to change someone or change a situation, that's your responsibility, I believe, to do it. Now, with the understanding that you don't have control over how it's going to be received. But as long as you understand that you don't have control over how it's going to be received and that you're not going to be offended if they tell you to pack sand, so to speak, you've done your part.
Okay. So allow me to challenge it further.
Okay.
You said if you have the ability to do so, then you should do so.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that is responsibility, and how much of that is it seems good to James Cole?
You know, the scripture says, "Him that knows to do good and doeth not to him is, and doeth it not to him, it is a sin."
Okay.
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 We're not focusing on the sin.
Sure.
Okay. What we're focusing on is, because see, this goes to the same understanding as when in the Bible it talks about prophets and they have a burden.
Mm-hmm.
And the burden essentially saying, it's been laid upon me. I know I got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't not do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, you know that it's laid upon you to do it. You know it could be received, or one of the prophets in the Old Testament, God actually told them, set your face like a flint, because I'm going to tell you to tell them, and they're not going to receive it. Because when a way has been made to improve and someone chooses not to do it, it's not because they didn't know. It's because they chose not to follow. And so there's now, it's just like, oh, I'm getting all into various scriptures now. Just like with the prophet Ezekiel, where God told him, if I tell you to tell the people something and you do it, and if they change, they're going to benefit. You've done what I've laid upon you to do. If you do it and they don't listen, you've done your part. It's not on you. They're going to deal with the consequences. But if you don't tell them, they're still going to deal with the consequences of them not knowing something that they could have known. But because you had the info and you didn't share it, now God's saying, now I'm going to look at you because you could have helped my people. It doesn't matter to you, or shouldn't matter to you, whether they're going to receive it or not. So now this goes to Jonah when he went to Nineveh, right? It shouldn't matter whether people are going to receive it or not. It's a matter of, because when you have something that can make something better, that's love. Because you're trying to help someone out of a worse situation and get them to a better situation. So them, whether they receive it or not, it's not up to me. It's my responsibility to give it to them in such a way where I heighten the possibility that they're going to at least listen and receive it. You know, so there's not going to be, well, I'm just going to tell them, I'm going to throw the knowledge at them. And then if they reject it, well, you know, look at the way you dealt with them.
Yeah.
You make them feel like they're stupid, you know. No, that's not his way.
That's right.
That shouldn't be our way.
Right.
But if you do it and then they don't listen, because see, here's another part of it as well. Just because someone rejects initially doesn't mean they're always going to reject
I
it.
agree with that 100%.
You know, and actually Jesus, well, all this is coming to my mind now. Jesus, because he asked a question at one point. He said, who is the Father most pleased with? If he went to one group and he told them to do something and they said, no, we're not going to do it, and then they turned around and did it, versus the ones where he told them to do it and they said, yes, we're going to do it, and then they never did it. And what he was talking about is people that hear it with joy, but then their heart isn't changed and then they don't do it. Versus the ones that initially hear and then it don't sound right to them. So I ain't doing that. But then we never know where the Lord deals with you and they say, okay, let me go pull this thing back up and look at it again. So to me, that's where the responsibility comes in. If you know that you can help a situation, that's all the motivation you need.
I like that answer. I agree.
So I got a question. Is that, you know, with everything that you said right there, where do we find the dogmatic side to that? Unless I'm missing something, right, with that. Because to me, there's a, I think it's, from my standpoint, and I feel like I'm growing. I hope I ain't going the other direction, right? You know what I'm saying? But the way I read the Old Testament now, I don't read it the same way that I used to read it, right? And that would be another discussion for another time. But when I look at Jesus, I look at more of invitation. You know, a lot of people would say that he was dogmatic, right? And I have a question: was he dogmatic, or was he inviting us to a new way of living? You see what I'm saying? And I really see that from my standpoint, because when you talk to certain hardcore people that's the Bible, their approach is dogmatic. We already know that because we grew up around people like that. And to this day, we still talk to people like it's non-negotiable or whatnot. But as I'm growing, I'm fluctuating, not in a bad way, but it's kind of like one of these things where I'm going down, then I'm rising up. But I'm still gaining, right? It's ebbs and flows, but I feel like I'm increasing. It's an increase, right? That's because I'm going back. I'm being curious. Being dogmatic, it stifles curiosity. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that we have to be aware of that, because with dogmatic, when you talk to a dogmatic person, they are so certain. It's certainty. But when you are in this process of belief, there is no certainty. It's ebbs and flows.
It's growth.
It's growth, yeah. You see what I'm saying? And I think that word you said, growth, is powerful. And what Tamara was saying about pride, that when I see dogma or dogmatic individuals, I see pride all day long. And so one of the things, that's the reason why I'm saying, like, what is the warning? What is the check engine light for someone?
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? That say, hey, okay, I think I'm going down a path that I'm actually, what do you say? I'm kind of detouring, so to speak.
Well,
off
to
the
me,
path.
one
Yeah, go
thing,
ahead.
repetition. If I find that I'm saying the same thing over and over again, saying the same thing today I did 5 years ago. Years ago, our Bibles were not electronic, right? They were actually
Paper.
ink on paper, right? And most of us, if we still have our old Bibles, they're all marked up with all the different pretty colors, right? Underlined and then highlighted and so on and so forth, right? That's an indication that when we read it at that time, we got this inspiration, we got this understanding, and so then now we got it, if you will, based on our understanding then. Sometimes when I do open up my hard copy Bible, I make a conscious point to try to read what I've highlighted as if it's new to me. Now, I know it's not new, okay, because there's a foundation there. But what I'm saying is I make it a point to not allow myself to say, oh, okay, I don't have to read that because I already got it marked up.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm avoiding, if we want to use the word dogma in that instance, the dogma of saying
There's
Romans
nothing new
8,
I can get from
there's nothing new I can get out. Or Romans 8, this is what it is, I got it, and as evidence why I got it all marked up. So then when I read, okay, I just flip over that and keep going.
because you got it. You may have it memorized.
Most likely I have it memorized, and then we pride ourselves when we go to church or
Wow.
amongst other people when we can quote it, and so then people think you're, walking on water because you can quote everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you have the mindset to say, okay, that was my understanding then, and so now if we're going to bring growth in, let me look at it again
Yeah.
and try not to focus on what I highlighted then.
So here's what I think about that. I really like that approach, and I do the same thing. But to me, what that speaks of is, so obviously those words are the exact same as they were when you highlighted them or circled them or underlined them. Those words are the exact same words. Here's the thing, though.
Right.
You,
Right.
as a growing, evolving being, your perspective has shifted because you may have been in high school the last time you read it.
Come on now.
And then
Yes.
you read it again maybe in college.
Yes.
And then maybe you read it again as a newlywed. And then you read it again as a grandparent. And then you read it again as a senior citizen. And each of those times you are different, which means that the words hit you differently based
Come
on
on
the
now.
perspective
You're
that you
talking
have
good. You're
and
talking
the outlook
good
of
now.
life. And so I think that speaks really well to overcoming a dogmatic mindset, because how can I be stuck in one place when I'm never in one place?
Come on.
That's it.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? Why would I intentionally set myself in such a way where I constrain myself against growth?
There you go.
That's
Very good.
ignoring what I've seen before. You know what I'm saying? I saw, I don't know, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten. Like, I've seen that 1,000 times.
Moving on.
But exactly, and I skip over it because I've already seen that. I know this. You ain't got it ain't nothing to tell me about it, you know? But the reality is that as we grow, the understanding of
100%.
the love there stands out in different ways. You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
Your understanding of loving thy an only son is different when you're a child versus when you're a parent. You know what I'm saying? The love of a parent to a child means a whole different thing.
It's a different thing.
Exactly. And so as
love,
as our perspectives change in life, I think it's necessary to combat dogma.
So then now take what you just said as an individual, and now what would happen if you have a group of individuals who have that same mindset? Where you
That's
may
how the world moves forward, in my opinion.
That's how we move forward. You may understand that we've gotten to this point where this is what we know and we're going forward with what we know. But we're not being dogmatic in that we're open to growth.
Say that one more time.
But we're not being
Agreed.
dogmatic in that we're open to growth.
Agreed.
In other words, learning may have gotten to a certain point, and then it may not advance very much for a while. But then someone may get a spark, and then all of a sudden you can start from that foundation and then go forward.
Yes.
Because you're all open to growth.
Yes. So here's a perfect point. I had a conversation with somebody, or to speak to that point, I had a conversation with somebody about, I don't know, maybe about 6 months ago when we were talking about the Bible. Somebody that I came up around in the church environment. And we talked about like just the authority that certain people hold with the 66 books of the canonical Bible, the King James Version, let's say. And I asked the question, I said, the canonical Bible ends at Revelation. Are we under the assumption that God has not spoken to anybody else?
Come on now.
Very good.
Come on now.
And inspired them to write wisdom
That's it.
or teachings or doctrine or anything else in however many thousands of years it was since the end of that was written. You know what I mean? The last section of the 66 books, like God's been quiet this whole time.
Right.
Very good.
I don't know about that. You know what I mean? I have my doubts. And so, but what I'm speaking to is a dogmatic mindset that says that this is it. This is from start to finish all that I need and all that I'll ever need. And there's nothing else that has been developed since then. And so to your point, you mentioned that that we can, it's possible for growth to happen in, let's say, in seasons, let's say. So, I mean, there's a perfectly natural example of that, or a perfect natural example. We can think about trees, you know. In winter, trees stop. Yeah. All life pauses during the coldest season of the year.
They're still alive.
It's still alive.
There you
They
go.
go
That's
into dormancy.
exactly right. Yes. And so there are periods of quiet in terms of things that are alive, but change is still always happening because deep underground, those roots are still doing exactly what they need to do. They're still looking and seeking for nutrients and things like that. And then when the spark happens, then the change is more visible. Because the change has never stopped happening. But the fact of the matter is that as those sparks come in different periods, or the time of change or the time of growth or the time of advancement comes over different periods of time. I hope I'm not going to like getting too out of here with it, but growth happens that way, and it combats the very essence of dogma. In my mind, you know what I mean?
That's very good, man. Because the one of the you said something.
No.
You said try to figure.
I was like, all right,
here,
man,
help me
let's go
here.
to
I'm
reel it on in.
You said something that was interesting to me, man. Because you know, we always say the scripture that say you know them by their fruit, right? And one thing that do a person that's dogmatic, are they honest enough about the fruit? You know what I'm saying? Are they honest enough about their fruit? Oh, hey Maya, we got a note here. Our minds are constructed based on multiple components that makes the specific definition 100% relevant in how any average person's mindset operates?
Our minds are constructed based on multiple components. That makes this specific definition 100% relevant in how any average person's mindset operates. Exactly. It's common psychology. The way that our minds are designed. First of all, you said it earlier. You said we're lazy, and to a degree, that's true because our minds, our brains are wired for survival, not necessarily analytics. You know what I mean? And so, in order to escape the mindset of a dogmatic, and in order to escape a dogmatic mindset, we have to kind of shift out of that and be intentional with being analytical about the things that we believe. We have to be able to take our minds intentionally to evaluate where we are, because that's the only way to escape the mindset that just says, well, I'm going to just sit back because Ethan told me how it goes, and I don't have to think about it any more than that. All I got to do is get up and follow this routine, and I'll be all right. But that's literally, there's no change there, which means that there's no growth.
What you said, lazy, Ethan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
Thank
also,
you, Maya.
Maya, that was awesome. And to go back to what you were saying, to piggyback off of you, I was thinking also about a person that, a lazy person or a person that's in survival mode all the time. There's a potential of stagnation. If you constantly think about, okay, I'll just do I've been doing this all this time or whatnot, there's a form of stagnation and you're stunting your growth in many, many types of ways. We already talked about that earlier. But one thing that Plato said, and this is something that I've been messing around with quite a bit lately, is other thinkers and other reasoners, guys that reason. And I see a lot of value in what these guys said, because they take their time to actually observe people and they document it down. This is even centuries before the Lord Jesus even came on the scene, right? And by that alone, by me saying that alone, from our previous experiences in church and people that we dealt with, that would have been a no. Right? You don't listen to Buddha, you don't listen to Stoicism, you don't listen to anything, right? But I actually find growth within myself by listening to these individuals, right?
And that's the measure with which you should, you know what I'm saying, move forward.
You go and say it again.
That's the measuring stick that you should use to determine whether or not you listen to the people who would say,
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you're experiencing growth, you know what growth feels like. You've experienced it before and you know what it feels like. And so when you get to the point where you know for sure that what you found is helping you to grow spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever, then that's the measuring stick, not necessarily some dogmatic person, patting you on the hand.
Man,
saying,
come on, man.
You in the wrong.
Or saying, job well done. Like even with the accolades and the word we used earlier, I can't remember. What was it just a couple weeks ago?
Validation? No.
Validation, that's another big word that we use. But to go back to what you said earlier was, Plato said this: the mind that opens to a new idea never returns to its original size. That's like, to me, so phenomenal to me. I love that, yeah. So the more you invite new thoughts in, challenges, whether they be good, whether they be bad, it doesn't matter. Going back to metacognition, what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Tamara has just like been straight up on a high with this word lately. I mean, she's been going down this path of metacognition that is wonderful. She comes to me while I'm working. Ethan, I find out something else, you know what I mean? But I think that when we do this, when we open ourselves to new ideas and stuff, we're exploring. We get that thing called hot brain going on in your mind. You know what I'm saying? And I really believe that's God dealing with us. You know what I mean?
And I dogma is more prevalent than we realize. Speak only English.
Oh, that's very dogmatic.
Yeah.
That's a dogmatic statement.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
And then, sorry.
No, go ahead, keep going.
I was going to say that that is limiting to the person who says that, because then what happens when someone else comes in that speaks English and another language, they're able to get a job first.
Yeah.
And so it's just limiting.
Yeah.
It's very limiting.
Very limiting, yeah. Like I said, speak English. They praise God differently than us.
Oh man.
Their music is funny. Their rhythm is different. All of these are really dogmatic statements.
Yes.
Man.
And so then our society is full
that's
of
deep, man.
dogmatic statements or dogmatic
Mindsets.
Thank you, that we live by. And we don't actually see them that way, but it actually is. We set the standard that this is right, and everything else is doesn't measure up, so it's wrong. Therefore, it's worthy of ridicule, it's worthy of retribution, because it's different than the standard that we're trying to establish and hold to.
That speaks very, very clearly to the current political landscape
Yes,
in
it
our
does.
country. I mean, the fact that I had this conversation very recently. We live in a time where it feels imperative to take a stand on one side of the fence or on the other,
Yeah.
the left or the right, so to speak. When in reality, a mature mind is able to hold both ideas at once. And I'm coming back around to the point that you made about learning new things. But a mature mind is able to hold multiple ideas at the same time without necessarily subscribing to any of it.
Right.
That's what I'm talking
I can take what you say. I can listen to what Barack Obama says. I can listen to something that Donald Trump says. I can listen to something that what's the Russian guy, Putin.
Yeah.
I can listen to something that he says, some of his ideas or propaganda or whatever. And I can hold these ideas and I can consider them. That's what a wise mind does. A wise mind considers all of the options, all of the angles, or as much as I have available to me, and then I can make a decision. But here's the thing: it only becomes, it's okay. I can make a decision without leaning into any of the dogma. I can say, I believe that this person is correct. I can say, I believe that your approach is not quite, it doesn't quite sit well with me. But even the person that I agree with, I don't have to lean into it to the point where that is no longer beyond question. Once it's beyond question, then we're into dogma. And that's what we are fighting against right now in our country.
So
if you look on any social media post, nearly any social media post, you're going to see people taking sides in one way or another against one another.
Hardcore.
Simply because everybody's lost in I hate using absolutes like everybody, but a lot of people, so many people are lost in a dogmatic mindset where I have to drive this home because now I'm digging my heels in and this is where I stand and I'll die on this hill. So you mentioned a couple minutes ago about Plato. He said that the mind that expands to accept new things, new thoughts, new ideas, new concepts can never shrink back to the size that it once was because now I have a greater understanding. Even if it's not something that I choose to hold, that's the important part. We don't have to hold it. I can hear something that Plato says. I can hear something that some teacher says. And I can lean back and consider and say, there's some merit to what he says, but then there are some things that don't necessarily line up with the way that I'm heading in life.
Beautiful.
I can either take some of it, I can take all of it, or I can reject it all. But either way, I'm wiser now for having understood what you understand, even if I don't agree with it. And so I think that keeping that type of mindset and being intentional with thinking about things that way keeps us away from being dogmatic.
Man, I love that.
You remember your point?
I was just thinking, that's a good place to be. So when we learn of ourselves, that we're able to hold these different views from different places, I think, like you said, it becomes, although we're not going to go, when you grow in that capacity, you're not going to go around sparking conversation with everybody, but you should be able to be approachable so that somebody can ask of you, why do you see it this way? And vice versa, and
100%.
and still maintain that curiosity, so that you can have a dialogue.
Yes.
Even though you understand that you may have an opposing viewpoint on something.
Man,
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brother James, before you go to it, we had a thought here from Maya. Hey, Maya, you're on. exactly. We want to work, but it makes it hard and can come off lazy because, yes, we think analytically, but that fight or flight zone keeps us safe in processing certain beliefs. Make sure that's it.
I want to work, but it makes it hard. Come off as lazy. Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense to me. That the fact that our minds or our brains are built for systems and just patterns and
repetition,
keeping in survival, so that we don't have to stray too far from it because it wants to save as much bandwidth as possible. You're exactly right. It keeps us safe when processing certain beliefs. I would even change that to processing limiting beliefs. Things that hold us and confine us are the things that keep us alive for a while, just like the boat in the parable in the beginning. It keeps us alive for a while, and it's necessary for a while. But if we hold on to it because it feels just well, to help me at some point, so it might come in handy sometime down the line, may or may not be the best path forward. And,
right.
And the strength comes in being able to analyze the situation in each moment and decide whether or not the boat is worth keeping.
Yeah.
Yes.
You about to say something afterwards?
Oh no. Well, I don't know. I'm thinking this as a final statement. I don't know if we're there yet or not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, but based on the last thing you said, though, as far as being open to receive from others, the thing that came to my mind was, but a dogmatic mindset would disregard anything that didn't come from themselves. And so that's a problem in and of itself. But what I was going to say is this. I guess this hopefully is my final thought. I thought about the moon. Okay. And remember, in the 50s and the 60s, there was a race to get a man on the moon, right?
Did you just ask if we remember the 50s and the 60s?
I don't think I did.
I'm just kidding. I thought you didn't remember.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
I got to get one in every
Yes,
episode.
you do. Yes.
All right.
I thought about this, though.
Race to get to the moon.
Do we think that no one before 1950 thought about being on the moon? That moon is there. If it's a clear sky, you can look at it every night. No clouds. You can see it, right? The moon is there. You think back in the 1200s, the 1400s, someone never had a thought about what if a man or a human being could be on the moon?
Of course.
Okay? What I was thinking about this, though. Okay, but at the time, the prevailing mindset would be, if men were meant to fly, they'd have wings.
You're right.
So good.
Right?
You're exactly right.
Right?
Yeah.
So then, therefore, put that out of your mind.
Right.
That's just stupid thinking.
Right.
But God gave us imagination. And without imagination, you're not going to be able to have growth. So the mind, I'm convinced that the mindset was there
I love that.
to go to the moon or to be on the moon even before man figured out how to fly.
Yeah.
So man had not figured out how to get into space, let alone be on the moon. Man had not figured out how to break the sound barrier, whether on land or in the sky. Man had not even figured out how to fly like birds. But yet, I can guarantee you there was a mindset. Look at that. I wonder if a man can be on that thing.
Yeah. What would it take?
What would it take? If we held to the dogma of the quote-unquote reality of, if this is where we are now, it's always going to be this way, and therefore don't even challenge it, we'd never get to the things, have the growth that we've had.
Can I add something to that? And I think that was powerful.
I love that.
I really love that. And that made me think about the potential contradictions that come after someone starts to fly a plane. Those the people that said no, but they see other people being benefited by this glorious invention. Now the person that said no all this time can actually purchase a ticket, right, and are actually benefit
from
their their previous mindset. So that's why I see the limitations and contradictions that can arise within dogma.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because there's always going to be people who are lagging behind because they hold to the if man were meant to fly, be born
Man,
with
that was
wings.
great.
There's always somebody holding on to that. Not literally that, but as we progress, as we come across new ideas and ways to do things and understandings and things like that, there's always going to be people who are a few steps behind because it's I mean, let's be honest, it's really tough to let
it's
go.
hard, man. Yeah.
Dogma is a challenging thing because most people who are dogmatic don't realize it.
It gives some comfort.
It's comfortable, exactly, because I don't have to think about it. It's my routine now. It's on autopilot. I don't have to think about shifting from here to there, you know?
Yeah, that's perfect. You were saying?
No, it makes me think of the previous word of confrontation. So
Yeah.
It requires
Confrontation.
confrontation.
Yes, yeah.
It does a lot of confrontation within
Right.
yourself.
Yes.
Like definitely within yourself first, and that's the hard part because by you feeling like isolated, I think that's where the isolation and feeling alone in your thinking sometimes will cause people to cower and go right back into that group. You know what I mean? Yeah, go
Hey,
ahead.
well, I said this in my last.
No,
just
go
something
ahead,
that
man.
escaped my mind. Dogma locks someone into a particular understanding, but they also realize that if they were to open up, they no longer are the authority. They may become a student.
Pride,
Okay.
fear. Oh, fear.
And so that's another natural resistance to growth.
100%.
But what if they
hadn't even thought
reframed it and looked at them not themselves, not as a student, but a comrade, brother or sister?
That would be good.
That would be better.
That takes a humble mind to be
Okay.
able to do that. And a lot, I mean, dogma you said it, I think you were the first one that said it among us, that dogma necessarily comes with pride.
Yes.
They come
Sure
part and
did.
parcel, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah, man, that's amazing, y'all. This was a great episode. Anybody else have anything else? I think we could talk about this.
Yeah, we probably could go for a while, but
You know what? Everyone that's going to see this show, we hope that you grow from this show as we are growing from having this conversation and discussion. I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to talk about dogma or something that's very, very close to dogma. Please like, share, subscribe. We have so many ways to contact us. Please visit our channel. We have a community posting there. So if you have any ideas, you have any thoughts, a word that you want to share, visit our channel at www.letyourwordscount.com. Drop us a note. Drop us a word. We will look at it. We're constantly looking at the website, and we value your responses, and we value your contributions with the show. All right? Anybody else? Mike, you have anything?
Just reiterating what you said. Like, share, subscribe, send it to a friend, send a word to us. You can put it in the comments, go to the website, letyourwordscount.com. Don't forget to go to egprodx.com. That's Ethan's music production company's website. Some pretty cool stuff there. It's been releasing music pretty regularly lately. So go out and check that out. It's pretty good music. Brother Cole, you have a channel now, right? You're already releasing content?
Yes.
You want to plug it?
It's not yet.
Okay.
We're getting it together. It's been out there for a while, but it's been dormant for a couple of years.
Okay.
But we're going to get it going again.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So
More to follow.
Okay.
More to
Sounds
follow.
good. More to come from our
What were you going to
I was
say?
getting ready to say our senior member.
Well, all right. That's okay. That's fine.
No.
That's fine.
More to come from somebody who we all learn from whenever we come together to talk. So I'm anxious to see what they're working on, what they're cooking up. I know him and Ethan have been working together. But anyway, we don't want to hold it too long. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next
Great
week.
show.
All right. God bless y'all.
Peace.